Here we are. It's been a while, Stuart.
Yep.
We've both been away. You were up at Vermont golfing, apparently.
Poorly, but yes, gorgeous course, Killington.
Did you visit Bernie Sanders, one of his mansions?
Yes, didn't happen to.
I'm surprised he didn't open them up to the public. As a socialist, you'd think he'd let anyone in his house.
Well, we had a good time. Spent a few days in a little town called Ludlow, which is in the southeast, near two different courses, a place called Fox Run and a place called Killington, as in snow resort, and Okemo as well. But good time, and we're back.
I refuse to visit a state that elects a moron like that every year to the United States Senate, spewing out his antiquated 70s bullshit about a socialist utopia.
It's a simply gorgeous state, though. And in the sunshine, I mean, the weather was spectacular. And it was just gorgeous being in the hills, being in the mountains. Anyway.
Well, in my note, I was in a much more exotic location.
Yes, you were.
I was in Sicily. It's not exactly the homeland because I'm from the mainland of Italy originally. And I think I mentioned to you I will be getting my passport soon.
That's very
and I'll be
exciting.
becoming an Italian citizen. I'm already a citizen, just waiting for the passport. And frankly, the time is more than appropriate in light of what's going on in this country.
You're going to be one of those?
No, I probably won't, but I like to talk about it. I'm unlike Alec Baldwin, who said he was going to move to Canada when Trump was elected and never did. Instead, procreated with some prostitute he married, and then runs around University Place looking like a drunk.
I'm sorry, I saw him only twice on the street. Once he was with a baby carriage. That's about 5-6 years ago.
I see him all the time. He looks terrible, and I enjoy it.
Got to be worried about the fact that the trial is still ahead of him.
Well, no, didn't he? He got acquitted and all thrown out
When did this occur?
a couple of weeks ago.
No, there's a new.
No, I didn't know. No, that was thrown out too.
I thought just within the. Anyway.
No, I've been
talking
paying
without
attention. I
knowledge.
wanted to see that. But anyway, Sicily is very interesting, Stuart. It is like, it's really like, I felt very much away from the world there, and it's very old. It's got a lot of history. It's beautiful. It's got Italian cuisine you'd know about, but it's distinct from the mainland of Italy. We were very busy. We saw a lot of, they have Greek ruins at the Valley of the Temple. We were in Taormina, where they filmed The White Lotus, which I'm sure you don't watch, because I know you would never watch any kind of cable, because you probably don't even have cable. But it was, so I feel a little disjointed, Stuart, because I've been away for so long.
Yeah, you're much more moderate right now. You're not in a vicious, nasty mood.
I know, it's too unfortunate, isn't it? But, I mean, the beaches were beautiful. I actually we sailed, I swam in the Ionian Sea, I think it's what it's called. We climbed Mount Etna. I think I sent you the picture.
Yeah.
The wineries are, it's just beautiful. But
Okay, talking about home.
now I'm back. And, one of the things I wanted to mention before I got started, because I know I can be a Debbie Downer at times. But, I think while I was away, we acknowledged that it was the 27th anniversary of Lady Diana's death. And I know when she died, a lot of people were very upset. And, being the cynic that I am, I'm like, why does everyone care about her? But I think I kind of know why, because, unlike the rest of those dysfunctional people in the royal family, this woman, I don't think she was some kind of, the smartest person out there, but she had a level of compassion that you don't normally see in someone of such privilege. And I think she actually felt it. I don't think it was an act.
I agree.
And I think one of the at the time when she became kind of a world figure, we were going through the AIDS epidemic, and people were dying, and we were given a lot of scientific misinformation about the disease by scientific experts like that fraud, Dr. Fauci, who left people with the impression that you could catch the disease through casual contact. You could catch it from a toilet seat. And there's documented evidence of this. He also slow-walked therapeutics in favor of a vaccine, yet today we still don't have a vaccine. And he also stigmatized as did other health experts, people who had AIDS, and left people. A lot of these people died alone in hospitals because their families were afraid to embrace them. They were afraid. They thought that they would catch it by touching them. But Lady Diana, she went to an AIDS hospital and hugged an AIDS patient. And when she did, it made headlines, obviously, because of the stigma that Dr. Fauci and others put on these people. And she really created a firestorm. But, you know, that says a lot about someone. She kind of broke a barrier that, and a misinformation that we had been provided by doing that. And I have to say, you know, that makes her an admirable figure.
Didn't she also get involved, correct me if I'm wrong, with the landmines in Asia?
Yes, she was trying to, you know, prevent that. But I that's a worthy cause, but I think this is more significant because I think it was more profound what she did. And, you know, it's tragic what happened to her. And, you know, as far as her former husband's concerned, he's a repulsive human being. In that strega, home-wrecking putana that he married, she flagrantly flaunted that relationship. She is a horrible woman, and I hope they both suffer. But that all said, Stuart, see, I'm getting back to normal. I know this probably threw you off a little. I really did, but you know, let's just say R.I.P. Lady Diana.
I agree.
We miss you. You truly should have been the queen, not Camilla Horseface Bowles, who is the ugliest woman I've ever seen in my life. I mean, seriously, even when she was young, she was a beast. I mean, when I see her, I'm on a moo.
All right.
How do you feel about that, Stuart?
Well, no, I like what you said about Diana. I think she's revered and was loved for different reasons around the world because she seemed like a normal, compassionate human being, not some stoic in a rich family. And so they learned.
Right.
I got something. I don't want to talk all good news. I want to go off on just...
Oh, my God, it's a reversal of roles. I may die.
No, just a little something that pissed me off. I was reading in the Post today about Justin Timberlake's plea out in the Hamptons. Well, you'll know more about the Hamptons than I.
No one knows more than you, Stuart.
So he was stopped a short while ago. I don't know, a few days or a few weeks. A cop said he was veering over lines. They said he blew a stop sign. And then he refused after 3 requests to take a breathalyzer test. But okay, he now pleads and gave what seemed like a heartfelt apology out in front of a courthouse. But of course, he's an actor. And it certainly isn't going to change his conduct in the future. But what he did do by getting that plea is to avoid a trial on DWI, driving while intoxicated, as opposed to getting a plea bargain for the lesser offense of driving while impaired. And the difference is, DWI, under the right circumstances, not inevitably, but under the right circumstances, you can go away for up to a year in prison and you get your fines. But I think that's what he was attempting to avoid, that possibility. Because when you go to trial, the fact that you refused on 3 occasions to take a breathalyzer is legitimate evidence in that trial. That and what other conditions might have been known? They might have talked about his odor, his
demeanor.
I think he was making a tactical case on advice of counsel to say, you better take this and run. Somebody that pisses me off. That pisses.
So does this suggest to me, Stuart, that you won't be listening to one of his classic songs called "Sexy Is Back"?
I've never listened to anything.
You know, he did not bring in "Sexy" back.
I wouldn't even know what he sings or that he could sing.
I'll play it for you.
No, that's okay.
You know, he was in the Mickey Mouse Club originally.
No, I didn't know.
Yes, and that's how I think he met Britney Spears, who he had that beautiful relationship with, where they apparently both cheated on each other and broke up. And then he wrote the song "Cry Me a River," and I think it was about her.
Cry Me a River?
Yeah.
Cry Me a River.
No, it's not what you think it is.
Because that song is by...
No, this was his own song.
Called Cry Me a River?
No, I think you're confusing it with something else.
I'm not confused. I was saying the one I know is some classic song.
No. This is not.
Oh, I know it's not that. I was surprised.
I may have the name wrong.
Okay.
I maybe have been. But
all right. Well, enough of Justin.
You've had enough of him.
Yes.
Well, these are the type of people that go to the Hamptons. The shallow Hollywood losers. And the trash that my daughter went to private school with at that shitty school she went to, Avenue's the worst school. But I don't want to go down that road again. But I will tell any parent looking for a school in New York City, do not spend $60,000 to go to that horrible school that didn't teach you math and taught you all that critical racial studies, while the school was primarily wealthy white people. It was the most absurd curriculum I've ever seen in my life, and the sexism and racism that my daughter was subjected to by the headmaster of that school, Judy Fox, was outrageous, and I'll never forget it. That woman should be burnt.
Easy, go easy. Just go easy.
All right, I'll just finish. She should be burnt at the stake, and I don't mean as a hero like Joan of the Arc. And she's still there. That's what gets me. How this woman could be in charge of anything is beyond me. And she dresses like a bag lady. But that's just petty and bitchy.
Yes.
But I can't help myself. But, I did come back and I've been a little jet lagged this week too, which might mean, while I'm not fully functional yet, but I did on Tuesday watch that absurd debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And to be quite honest, I was frustrated watching it because she has so many liabilities and so many. I mean, she has been part of one of the most disastrous administrations out there, and I could have prosecuted the case better than that crazy lunatic. Instead of talking about how the Biden administration let over 8 million people flood our border, then 6 months before an election finally close it down because they realized it was a political liability. He's talking about Haitians eating dogs.
David, that's not occurring because of stupidity or lack of preparation. That was the intended approach of Kamala Harris and that side, to let him dig some of his own holes. And I think it worked.
That may be, but I do think that she still came off as what she is, which is she is a vessel of, she's shallow and vacuous. She has no clear policy positions. And she really she can't defend the indefensible. In the massive inflation that her administration contributed to, the absolute embarrassing spectacle that occurred in Afghanistan with that withdrawal, that one
dazzled me. That Trump, even in the midst of his own inability to control himself, didn't speak to that. That's an important issue to people wearing all kinds of stripes of different kinds.
Right, and they've spent all this time talking about women's rights, your bodies, blah blah blah. Women in the Taliban are not allowed, in Taliban-controlled Afghanistan, are not allowed to speak in public and must cover their entire bodies now because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And, I guess that doesn't matter to her running mate, since he thinks it's so important to allow juveniles to cut off their own genitals.
You have those concerns, and to me, Afghanistan was about failing to help those who aided us get out.
Absolutely.
And by not having a prepared, organized withdrawal, you further enhance the speed with which the acting government failed and the Taliban took over. And you also, the remark she made at one time that she was last
person in the room.
If I were in his shoes, I just want to bring that out, because I think this is just a major failing in the past in American policy under the under the Biden administration, as important as immigration. And I think a lot of people would be riled by that. I am.
Well, I don't blame you, and I think it was outrageous. And, Joe Biden has been a absolute disaster when it's come to foreign policy. As I'd mentioned previously, Obama's, I think, defense secretary, was it William Gates? He wrote a book, and in it he wrote that Joe Biden has been wrong on every foreign policy issues in the last 30 years, and the Afghanistan withdrawal proves it. This was before maybe he was fully demented and could use a bathroom.
Rejected the advice. You see, in many sources, rejected the advice of all the senior military. I mean,
who was he listening to? His drug addict son, Hunter?
He had a I don't want to say a compulsion, maybe that's not right, but he had an overwhelming desire to get out of Afghanistan. And that clouded his thinking, I believe, when all these others are suggesting more moderate posture.
Well, if the guy didn't have such hardening of the arteries and such slow-moving mental functioning, and he's never been bright, he's one of the dumbest people ever to be president, even dumber than Trump, because I don't think Trump is dumb, but he's just crazy. But I've never seen it. I mean, the guy is embarrassment, and we still have 6 months of him. And, potentially we'll have 4 more years with a very unqualified person to be president of the United States. The Democrats could have had a competitive primary and chosen one of their heavyweights. Instead, we got her and this bizarre character from Minnesota who has run that state into the ground. It's really amazing that a major political party would put up well, then I guess, what about the Republicans? Look who they put up. They put up Donald Trump, which is amazing also because...
Hey, J.D. Vance, to my surprise, has come up with 1 or 2, not malaprops, but unfortunate statements that have come to make him a much quieter character now. I think they're putting the reins in on him. I wouldn't have expected that from him.
Well, he's 39 years old. I don't know why they chose him, because he has no experience in the national eye like this. I mean, he certainly has a compelling personal narrative. Sure, I will give him credit for that.
Sure.
But yeah, he wasn't, this is not, apparently Trump chose him because he felt that one of his sons, Donald Jr., pushed it. I mean, it makes no sense. There were so many other alternatives that you could have chosen. Instead, you choose this guy who, is unpolished and really not ready for the nationals.
But he also amounts to someone who could be more easily led and disregarded by Trump. I mean, once in office.
Well, he'd disregard anyone, right? Even Dick Cheney he'd probably disregard, who, of course, endorsed Kamala Harris, which is a huge statement that, the Dark Lord who shot his friend in the face and is one of the most conservative Republicans out there before this lunatic came along, is endorsing someone as left-wing as Kamala.
Well, I think it's his refusal to endorse someone as wacko as Trump.
Yep. Well, I always have a soft spot for people with evil in their hearts, and Dick Cheney is one of them, as well as the fact that he has, like Rasputin, he's had like 40 heart attacks. He's still alive. I love this guy. He's a cockroach. But that all said, the debate was kind of meaningless, and I really don't necessarily, the Democrats can crow and be arrogant about all they want. I'm not so sure this woman is cakewalking her way to a election.
I don't think cakewalking. I just think from her position, she acquitted herself well and did what she wanted to do. And I think Trump failed to do more when he could have and should have.
That's all true, but at the end of the day, who do you think is really going to win this election? I'm not so sure. I don't think she's a shoo-in. She's got a lot of liabilities.
I don't think she's... Okay, I don't believe she's a shoo-in. I'd see a tight one.
Yeah, and then, well, a lot of these cocky Democrats are like, oh, he's finished.
Oh, that's
foolishness. Criminal cases have all fallen apart. Their nonsense about him. They have failed on every respect to get him.
We'll
and,
see.
They even, I wouldn't be surprised if somehow they were behind the assassination attempt. They hate him so much.
Oh, please, come on.
Let me have my fun.
No.
And listen, the Democrats have blood in their heart when it comes to Donald Trump, and then that's why they lose. They can't see the forest through the trees. They really can't. They're not rational. And speaking of irrational, let's talk about the disappointment here in New York City. You mentioned it to me today, which is Adams' police commissioner had to resign. He's being investigated. They're seizing his phone, all this stuff. No wonder why our city remains so dysfunctional, and we have drug addicts out on the street shooting up on West 10th while their parents are taking their kids to school. It remains seriously problematic. And sure, we can probably say Adams is kind of doesn't have the full leeway to get things done because he has Kathy Hochul in the far left. What's her name?
Legislature with the hyphenated name.
Is Andrea Stewart
Cousins,
whatever. And is it Hastings? Yeah, those scum.
And the city council. And oh, by the way, I mean, as if we didn't need more cheery news from the city council. There's something they're moving forward with to get a commission on reparations.
Of police.
Oh, no. Now, this continues to get talked about over the years, and the New York legislature and now the city council are talking with more aggressiveness. And the fact that Adams is now getting more challenged by scandals around him, I don't know that he's going to be touched necessarily, but it shows a lack of management skills, and what it shows is this. I had two issues with respect to him over time. I was pretty hopeful for him, actually, but his stance on immigration, whether forced by a forced hand, I'm sure, from the state and maybe the feds, that stance on immigration has been catastrophic for New York City and other cities around the country in a similar way. Second, though, what bothered me most early on was his selection of people for positions, including that brother who had no serious experience in security matters as being head of security at an inflated price. That came off the board after a while, but he's continued with that. And now we're seeing some more of this crumbling.
Right.
And I think only when some of these subpoenas have, revealed what they've revealed on phones and otherwise, I think there's, more coming, more bad news coming.
He isn't doing a good job, and he's involved in corruption, and he's at least in the periphery of it. And I don't think he is honest person. I don't think he's like above board. This is a guy who's out at 3 a.m. in a nightclub. It's ridiculous. I didn't really have high expectations for him, but I certainly didn't expect him to be as bad as he is, and I don't see a major improvement from that disastrous Warren Wilhelm Jr. I know I can't mention his name, but please go to Park Slope and poop in front of his house. Give him a taste of his own medicine.
I say we need to expect more bad news to come as these investigations unfold. And what it will also mean, I think, it should be to the sadness of law and order-ish and peaceful types, is that the left, the so-called progressive left, is going to gain more power.
Well, speaking of that,
toward the next election, I think that's really
at least maybe here in
New York City. I mean,
let's name one of these candidates who is already running for mayor against him. This most disgusting human being. His name is Brad Lander. Okay, first of all, he's been declared one of the most left-leaning politicians in the city. Okay, and he's planning to challenge Eric Adams. He was in the city council, and when he was in the city council, his performance was rated as subpar. He was ranked 31 of the 51 members for productivity, showing up, etc. He, as a Jew, embraces this Jew-hating Pakistani activist, or Palestinian activist. He refused to denounce Louis Farrakhan. During the Nazi era, there were Jews who collaborated with the Nazis to save themselves from the fires, like George Soros. And if you ask me, these Jews, like Brad Lander, who turn on their own people for political benefit, they are no better. And you know what happened to the treasonous ones who collaborated with the Nazis during World War II? A lot of them were executed at the end. I don't know. I mean, obviously, we don't have a death penalty in New York, but his treasonous behavior is disgusting. Not only that, he's a racist, because there was an Asian who was challenging a left-wing woman. I think her name is Nydia Velasquez. And he referred to the Asians who were supporting these people as scumbags. Who's the scumbag? Who is the scumbag, Stuart? And then he has also violated ethical standards by using his government position to funnel money to non-profits he created. And he's also called forcefully for defunding the police and for putting homeless people in hotels. So the Four Seasons, that's not for rich people anymore. It's for the homeless, because of people like Brad Lander. This guy is the type of person we do not need in City Hall. He is a de Blasio times 10. And but there are other people running as well, one of whom is Handy Andy Cuomo. Or he hasn't announced, but he's considering it. And even though I really loathe him and disgust by the way he mishandled the COVID affair and took credit for it, he's a ruthless, vicious personality.
And therefore...
yeah, that's why I'll vote for him.
No, not just why you would. We, in New York City, I just say we, the people, would probably think that what he did, that sex thing, was just a rather small matter. But he has the guts to carry on in this tough city and manage. And he has managerial experience at a high level, and he's bright. We might not like some of the things he's done. I certainly don't. But I think that guy will be, just like Anthony Weiner was initially, I think Cuomo could be the winner, first of all, the candidate, and a tough candidate to beat. Well, if he wanted the job.
He's ruthless enough, and he certainly would be an improvement. I mean, this is how sad our situation is, Stuart, that we have to hope that Andrew Cuomo is going to come and save the day.
I mean, it could be I don't think it'd be a shock if he did. He's got the gumption to do so. He's got the brights, and he knows how to manage.
Well, if this disgusting Brad Lander even comes close to winning, Stuart, I am moving to Greenwich, Connecticut.
Oh,
I am moving, and you are welcome.
What a shock this is.
I know. And you are welcome to come, and I will take...
No, that's quite okay.
No, and we're going to go to the country club. And we're going to have to gussy it up. I'm going to take you to a gentleman's store.
No.
And buy you a tweed blazer.
No, I have proper clothing. I just don't use it often.
Well, we're going to get you all fancied up. We're going to take care of you, Stuart, because Brad Lander belongs in prison. He is a scumbag and does not belong anywhere near the positions of power.
Keep us informed on his subject. I really haven't followed him too much. I know of his existence, but
he exercises me more than ever because he is a symbol of the progressive hypocrisy of the left wing. He is just a young version of an asshole like Bernie Sanders with his multi-million-dollar home, spewing out all that crap. Bernie Sanders is a huge fraud. And I hate that guy, too. And he's so stupid. He doesn't get anything done in the Senate. He's just a crank. You know, as much as I loathe Hillary Clinton, she was absolutely right about him when she pointed all this out when she ran for president and he caused all those problems for her. She was absolutely right. He's an ineffective senator. He's full of shit. Let him go live in the Soviet Union.
Okay.
Do you have anything to add, Stuart, to this?
To that, but I have...
You got. Go ahead.
Is there something that I could chat about? I think this was.
I'm going to permit. You know what? In the wisdom and the mellowness I've developed in Sicily, I am going to give you the mic, Stuart.
No, this is cute. So there's this guy named Mike Farchi and his wife. They got a room at the Venetian Hotel in Las Vegas, and during their stay, and what I'll call an unlikely stranger got into their bed. And bit the guy in his privates, we'll say.
Okay.
I said privates.
Okay.
And now, the stranger was not human. The stranger was a scorpion. And so, that arachnid, they're part of the arachnid family. This eight-legged arachnid, you know, it's got the lobster-like tail for people who can't picture it. Claws and a lobster-like tail, and it injects venom. And many of them are seriously venomous. And so anyway, he got bitten, and he said it felt like being stabbed with sharp glass or a knife. I can imagine it would have been.
Maybe it turned him on.
Okay. No, wait a minute. You're getting to an interesting point, though, because Mike and wifey, I'll call her wifey, I don't know her name, are suing the Venetian for failure to honor their duty of due care as a hotel.
For the scorpion in their bed.
Well, yes, because that duty involves keeping a place free of vermin. You betcha.
You would think.
Now, I mean, those are the usual words. They don't mention scorpions. I don't imagine in many of the statutes. Okay, but what gets me is that they're also suing for loss of consortium. That's a phrase I haven't heard in 50 years or so since law school. I mean, it's a wonderful phrase. And what it means is that it's the loss of physical benefits that you would get from a spouse. Now, that could mean doing chores, buying food, cleaning dishes, a whole range of things, but it also involves the big one, and that's sex. And so his wife is claiming that that their sex life has taken a big hit.
I think he's got a traumatized penis.
No, so the big hit. Now, of course, there'll be questions of proof. I mean, did the guy have other, can they prove that the loss of capability, we'll say, is due to the scorpion or some other cause? And even, I would say, defense counsel would probably raise the question of whether this scorpion was a freeloader that hitchhiked into the hotel with them. But these are just, little questions of proof. But now I just want to say that the article made me think of a film.
Okay.
A movie.
The James Bond movie? That's what this reminds me of.
No. Oh, maybe it is. I only watch one or two Bond films, but no. It was a film, and now I'm sure some people are scratching their heads. And it's a 1966 film. And you'd say, what the hell is that all about?
That's what I'm saying.
On the other hand, if anyone is still thinking, a further hint, Marlon Brando was the star. And then if they don't remember that, the movie was called The Appaloosa. And why I bring it up is because in a tense, beautiful scene, it gives me goosebumps. He was so brilliant. Both the bad guy, whose name I don't know, he was the bad Mexicano, and then there was Brando coming down to retrieve his horse, the Appaloosa. And why this story about the Venetian brought it to mind, these two guys decided that, well, it was the bad guy, the Mexicano, who said, we're going to settle our argument with scorpions. And so out come two boxes. They're seated at a table. A scorpion is taken out of each box, and the scorpion is tied down through a small string. But he's tied down to the table on each side of the table. So imagine two people facing each other, and on their right and left there would be these two scorpions, one on each side, tied down. And then you fight to see who wins the arm wrestling. The loser's arm will come down on top of that one scorpion. And given it's in Mexico, and they're not likely to get it much good treatment there.
So it could be sudden death.
Absolutely. And even if it's minor, not all scorpions are going to poison you to death, but some could. And if the case was that Brando lost, he certainly wasn't going to be getting immediate medical treatment.
Well, can I ask you a simple question?
Yes.
Where do you come up with this stuff, Stuart?
When you hear about a scorpion, you must watch, go Google Appaloosa scorpion and just watch the scene. If you want to see brilliant acting, it's a compelling scene. Brilliant performance by both the Chicano and and Brando. So that's before Godfather. I mean, it's 1966, but it was brilliant.
That was before he got fat and ugly.
I don't know about that. He did gain some weight.
He did gain some weight. He was like the size of a house.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? Well, that's
it.
That's a very bizarre story, Stu. I don't even know what to say about it. Other than I'd like to let a few scorpions loose here on New York City to take care of the far radical left and give them a few poisonous bites so that we'd be rid of them. But unfortunately, that may not be the case, and I'm going to be on the Metro North heading to Greenwich, Connecticut, to my townhouse community with a pool. And you're certainly welcome to come. But anyway, I guess that's it for now, Stuart.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
I wish I was in Sicily. That's all I have to say. All right.
Goodbye.
Bye.